But then I had this brilliant idea, like, let's just move to New York City and make it, a little small town girl from Florida. I can do it. And I did. I moved to New York. I got my first job was at the Museum of Modern Art. And through that, and I fell in love with home design. So for better or for worse, we will not take a client that does not have an authentic design story.
That's Marisa Jones Issa and Erik Perez of Hello PR Group. I'm Kara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast. Welcome to the Powerful Ladies Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be an honorary powerful lady.
Yes, when there are powerful gentlemen, it's a very important role. I would love to just start by you guys telling everyone your name, where you are in the world, and what you're up to. And maybe, Marisa, you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Marisa Issa. I'm a partner at Hello PR Group. We are based in Los Angeles with a small office in New York City. And we're really excited to be here today to talk with you, Kara.
And who else do we have today?
I'm Erik Perez. I am the man behind the powerful lady. I started Hello 10 years ago, and then Marisa joined me 2 years before. So and we've been working with you, Kara, for the last year. So we're just excited to talk about all the great things that we've done in the last year.
Well, for me, it's always so fun to have a power couple on, because it is such a different dynamic than an individual writing a business, an individual writing a book. It just brings a different flavor to the things that we have to consider, but also I think it adds to the bravery. And today is no exception, because one of you was excited to be here, the other was not. And so this is the example when you're a power couple, what happens of you're like, okay, we're doing it anyway, and we'll figure it out.
And I think in our case, it kind of works that we just force ourselves, or we push each other to do things that the other one doesn't want to do. So usually, usually Marissa's the one who's like, oh yeah, you should do this, and I'm like, why? So this is the one instance when it was the opposite.
I would love to start with, how did you guys meet?
Well, I can start, I guess. Erik and I both worked in New York City at giant public relation firms, and I was actually working in-house at the time. And he had an event in my showroom where I was at the Conrad shop, the in-house publicist. And we just met cordially, just one of those, peer-to-peer type, hello, how are you? Let's talk about this, funny client or terrible time we had with a journalist. And then a few years later, I moved to Los Angeles, and a girlfriend of ours, or our current director actually at our agency, had said to me, hey, you should meet Erik Perez. I think you guys would get along really well. And I sat down to have breakfast with him, and I was like, oh, I know you. We went to an event together. We worked together on an event many years ago. So it started off as becoming very good colleagues at different agencies for the first year that I lived in Los Angeles, and to the point where I would call him all the time and say, hey, who's your caterer? Who's your florist? Or how do you get a messenger service in Los Angeles when everyone, no one's on a bike here? What do I do? And then it turned into him saying, hey, why don't you come just join me at some point and leave all the frazzle workspace in which you were currently in.
Little did she know that she went from a frazzled environment to on an unorganized little office of just me and one other colleague, with me having she's like, do you have notes on this? I was like, oh yeah, what do you need to know? I just had everything in my head, and I have no idea how it worked, but it worked. So little did she know.
Well, I loved when I was working with you guys that there was a celebration of 10 years and 10 employees. And it doesn't always work out that neatly for all companies, but what has it been like to take this idea you had and the leap to go out on your own and then together, and to be here 10 years later as an award-winning PR firm with 10 employees?
It honestly feels really nice. It feels really good. And it's all from just a random, what's the worst that can happen? I go back and beg for my job back. And it really was I'm honestly very surprised by the success, and not surprised, and I didn't think I could do it, just by how organic it all came about, just from me sending a few emails to the people that I knew and the few editors that I knew that, hey, I'm doing this, and a couple of people that I knew that needed help but no money. I just, again, faked it till I make it. I was like, yeah, I'll do your press release, I'll send it out, don't worry, like, yep, I'll do this pro bono. And it just kind of snowballed, like little by little. Just people were like, "Oh, so and so suggested I reach out to you." And I was telling Marissa the other day that I think I had one day off in between my old job and starting Hello. That it was around the holidays. I was like, "Oh, it's great. I'll have a couple of weeks to just do nothing." One day. So it was crazy. And again, it just started with one colleague who was helping me, and then we had 14 clients between the two of us. Marissa was just stressed out because she was doing a lot for the for her old agency, and I was like, I have more clients that I know what to do with, just like come work with me. And at the same time, we were talking with our colleague Catherine, who was working at my old agency and then left and went to work with Marissa, and she was also commuting. Her commuting was impossible. I was also talking to her at the same time. It just worked. And for a while, it was three of us, four of us, five of us. Then we moved to an office because where I am right now, this used to be our first office for the first 6 years of Hello.
Hmm.
And it got to the point where there's only so many desks that you can fit in a tiny little guest room.
Yeah.
And dogs. So
We
many dogs.
realized, and so many dogs. Um, so yeah, so we just moved to an office, and as clients kept on coming, thankfully, we just decided like we need to have a more formal structure in terms of teams. Like we can't be seven people, everyone working on everything. So that's what we worked with you, Carol, last year, and that really forced us to really look into what our needs were in terms of the business, and also for us. The whole idea is that we wanted to make the most out of the time that we have. Um, and right now we're at this place where we're very comfortable with the clients that we have, with the team that we have. We were in a really good place, and I think that we're just like very happy to be celebrating, to be in this position 10 years later.
Yeah. And you guys have a really unique niche as well, because there's so many different types of PR and PR firms, and you've been focused on interior design, architects, all things kind of related to home. Is that something that you always loved before? Like, were you consuming all the magazines and watching all the things, or did you fall into this space based on where your careers kind of brought you?
Yeah. Well, I can take that one first because I had the, very normal trajectory where I went to college, got a degree in public relations, had a million internships. But then I had this brilliant idea, like, let's just move to New York City and make it, a little small town girl from Florida. I can do it. And I did. I moved to New York. I got my first job was at the Museum of Modern Art, and I was the in-house publicist for the MoMA Design Store. And through that wonderful education of working for the best museum in the world for 5 years, I learned all about authentic home design and what it takes to promote an entire collection of products versus different brands, working with the curatorial team. And I fell in love with home design. So for better or for worse, Erik and Kara, you know this, we will not take a client that does not have an authentic design story.
Mhm.
And so ever since then, I love home design. My house is very modern. Everything that we achieve for our clients has to be done in a really wonderful way, and always needs to tell a story. So I did take off like a year and a half and work in a nonprofit and realized I just need to go back to promoting shiny, pretty things. I did try it, but I am where I need to be, and I really love what I do.
Mhm.
My path is not as straightforward. I graduated from international business in the university in Mexico, and so I went to work for a custom broker for a year, which I hated. I absolutely detested it. Then I went back home. I was working at a radio station doing promotions, and that I loved, but it was a temp job. Somehow this company in Long Beach got my resume to do export of Mexican beef to Japan. Super, yeah. So I did that for
Totally
3
normal.
years. Totally normal. Who hasn't done that? So I was there for 3 years, and then it got to a point. I was one of the few people who actually spoke decent English. So
Hmm.
I was writing. Little did I know what I was doing, but I was writing press releases and editing articles. So just I was. It got to a point where like I can't do this anymore. I want to move far away. Like, where can I go? I started looking into schools to get to do my a master's program. And I thought I wanted to go into advertising. I started looking at programs, and at Boston University, the communication school had advertising and PR, and I was like, oh, what is this PR thing? What's
Hmm.
Who knew? Um, and when I was reading that, I was like, oh, this is what I'm doing. So I did that. I went to Boston, got my master's, moved to London to finish my master's, and there my internship was with um, Miss 60, which I don't think that brand exists anymore for all of the
Hmm.
elder millennials out there. Um, and I loved it. And my boss there, he asked me like, if I had any plans after. He connected me with an agency in New York that was looking for freelancers. My cousin lived in New York at the time, so it was like, oh yeah, let's live in together. I'm like, perfect. I did that. I After Fashion Week when they didn't need it, I just kept showing up because I had nowhere else to be. I hated my tiny little apartment in New York. And then eventually they gave me they had a job offer, but with a design team,
Hmm.
not the fashion team, which is what I wanted to do. But I didn't look back after that. That was
Hmm.
20 plus years ago, and I haven't looked back. I'm so happy that I started doing design. I started working with like amazing architects and amazing interior designers, and really just like learned by doing that and by reading
Hmm.
magazines and doing what we were supposed to be doing.
Yeah. You've lived in so many places. How did you end up landing in LA?
Well, my husband and I, we were talking about moving back to the West Coast. My family is still
Hmm.
in Mexico, 3 hours from LA. His family is in Ventura, it's like 1 hour from LA. So it was
Hmm.
New York was always like a 1 year plan for me. I ended up staying a
Yeah.
little bit longer. And my old agency, they just an opportunity just came that they needed.
Yeah.
Two of the senior people that worked on the design team were leaving, so they needed someone, and they asked me if I could move in a month. So I'm like, I jumped on it.
Yeah. I'm really proud of you guys and how you took on being so committed to making your team in the right layout with the right people and the right systems. So many small businesses never take those things on. What spurred you into saying, like, okay, no, we need to do this the right way, and now is the time? Like, how did you know that that had to be the next thing that you tackled? And I'm asking this also because I think a lot of listeners are feeling some team stress, and most people aren't good at delegating, and they don't have an HR background. And there gets to be a point where you can feel it's off, but people don't always know what to do about it. So, how did you guys decide we needed to fix this? We should call you, type of a thing.
I mean, I'll go, Kara. I basically called you because you were a referral from a dear friend, another publicist in LA, and I was ready to quit. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like somebody has to give. Either we need a better team, or either need less clients, or I'm done. I
Mm-hmm.
can't do this every day. And it had nothing to do with the actual work itself. It was definitely our team was not working the way that it needed to be. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not a fault of anyone else's. It's just Erik and I realized like we were just stretched too thin. We were both
Mm-hmm.
doing way too much for everyone from terms of training people to making sure they were doing the work that they needed to get done to making sure the clients were feeling taken care of. And, you know, what happened after the first 6 months of working together with you, Kara, was that we realized that Erik and I needed to divide the accounts in half as well as our team in half. It didn't make sense to have one junior person supporting three senior people. So
Mm-hmm.
it seems so obvious now, but at the time we were just, constantly getting clients, making sure we could do the best possible work for them. And that meant that we were just all involved with everything. And that was not
Mm-hmm.
very time. it was all very time consuming, but it wasn't really smart.
Yeah.
And I think we're at a place right now where both of us, we kind of learned how to delegate and let go
Mm-hmm.
of things, which it it's like the result. It's resulted in two things. One of it, like I think that we have more time and really more brain space to really focus on the business. And I think on the other hand, it's also empowered some of our team members to really take those responsibilities and don't just either wait for us to say yes,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead, but just do it. I
Yeah.
keep joking with Marissa right now that lately my job is basically just to give a thumbs up on things, which
Yeah.
I mean I love it, but again, I don't know if the rest of my team would agree that that's the best use of my time.
That's why we put him onto podcast, Kara, and that's why we have him do all these interviews right now because he has the time.
Yeah. Well, and I think, being your own PR agents for yourselves is really important. Like, you talk about finding the designers and the architects who are these hidden gems that you're like, oh, I can't wait to talk about you guys. But that's who you guys are in the PR world. Like, for the how accomplished, for the quality of work you provide, for how happy your clients are and the things that you've made possible for them. We forget as business owners that as the leadership of the company, like, we also have to be the face talking about what's happening. And for people like yourselves who are just so committed to doing a great job for your clients, you forget that you also need to go out and brag about that so that you can have not only them be really proud of who you guys are, but also be attracting more of the clients that you want to have. Like, you've been really lucky that you haven't had to do a lot of the cold selling that other people do. And you guys have a great story. So yes, please be on every podcast, get all the features that you guys can get. You could easily have your own TV show.
I think that I mean that's a stretch, the TV show, but no, I think that just like working with you just like really made us realize that um how important this is, and like neither
Mhm.
Marissa or I are like to talk about us or shine a light on us, and we're just like no, it's
Yeah.
not about us, it's about our clients. But yeah, like I think that right now it's just like treating the firm as a client
Yeah.
really just it kind of like forces us to do other things, and we've realized like every time like we get like a story or something like that, like we've noticed actually that we get
Mhm.
more inquiries for
Mhm.
work, so we're like fine care, I do it.
Well, isn't
We
it
used to
so
just think it was our amazing Instagram that our social media team does for us, but no, I guess it's these types of opportunities I really
It's
feel.
everything, it's a combination of everything.
Well, yeah. And like, you guys are PR masters. So, of course, your incredible work should work for your own company too, right? Like, you're just taking a proven concept and putting yourself through it, which can feel so weird sometimes. We found a new app that we're using to basically create reels from all pre recorded content that we have, which is every one of these podcasts, it's workshops, it's group calls. And because we're looking for content of me talking. And I'm like, guys, it is disgusting how much footage we have of me talking. Like, I was making a joke. I'm like, they could 1000% create an AI version of myself and Tom Cruise, no problem. Like, we have enough content that's out there. But it's so, even now, knowing and telling my team we have to do this and here's why, like, I'm coaching my team about my own business. There's still that cringe moment where I'm like, is that really the picture we're going to use? Is that really? We have to like, who cares about this question about like what I did in Germany? Like, does anyone care? And it's interesting to have your team be like, yes, you have to do it
Mhm.
too.
Well, we went through this exercise 2 days ago. We're updating our capabilities deck right now, and we're looking for photos of us through the years, and it's hilarious. We're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, remember that event we did? And oh yeah, we're never going to wear that shirt again. Or oh, we never
Mhm.
remember to take away the cocktails, and we're taking these big photos. And it was just great though. And I was like, gosh, Erik is really like a distinguished gentleman right now, and I am really looking my age.
Well, for me it was more like, oh, I remember those pants, they don't fit me anymore. It was a lot, I got a lot of that. It was
There's a
really
lot.
sad.
There's a lot of grace. A lot of
Hmm.
being like, oh, maybe we need a new wardrobe. Maybe we should
Always,
be,
always a
Marissa.
new wardrobe.
Always, always. I mean, Marissa, you're very good at doing your walks in the morning.
Yes.
So Mm-hmm.
I did. I did one today because I was so nervous about today. Gotta get it out.
Well, you guys are working in a space that is really interesting, I think, after what's happened with the LA fires. You have all of your clients are going to be in the most demand they've ever been if they are working in the LA area, because there is an absurd amount of rebuilding that needs to happen. How were you guys personally affected by the fires, and how have you been kind of managing your business through this traumatic time in LA?
Well, it was really hard, only because Eric and I we both live on the east side. So the Eaton fire really affected us and our team because our office is in Atwater Village. And I could see the Eaton fire from my house. I watched the two balls of orange go up. I took videos. I was really nervous. We had to
Yeah.
pack a go bag. We had to download the Watch Duty app. We were very concerned that at any moment we were going to have to leave and like, where do you go? So that was like the immediate first night. And then the next day, the smoke and the ash came, and Eric lost
Mm-hmm.
electricity for a few days. All our team members evacuated. And it was for 3 days, it felt like the pandemic all over again in the sense that we didn't know what was up, what was down. We canceled client calls. We said, let's focus on our team. Again, my
Yeah.
concern is always the well being of ourselves, our partners, our families, and our staff. And I, of course, didn't sleep at all because I also have a young child. And at 5 a.m., I texted the team like, no one, no one, no one drive to work today. Please let me know you're all right. And we'll take it one step at a time. But in terms of our clients, we do work with some of the best architects and interior designers in Southern California. And several of them their clients lost their homes.
Mm-hmm.
Projects they were working on have fallen through because the property is no longer there. The community has come together to really unite, which is very inspiring. And, we've collected donations and donated. And because we are unfortunately, in the luxury high-end space, some of these organizations that are collecting donations are for very high-end like brands. And, the rebuilding will take place, but it's not going to take place for 2 or 3 more years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so much work that has to be done in the communities. And I think eventually, yes, it'll be a great time for the rebuild, but we're not there yet. And
Yeah.
I do feel in my heart of hearts that the first few days was like, we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's gonna go on again. And the thought of even rebuilding was just not even a conversation. It was more like, are you okay? Do you have a roof over your head? Is your dog taken care of? Like, how can we make a meal for this group of people who we know? So I've never seen that type of community outreach. And I know a few people who, signed up to be volunteers at Red Cross. They had 10,000 volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 10,000 people sign up. That's unheard of in any sort of tragedy. So I think that we will be stronger. I still think the first 2-3 weeks and continue to be like, we don't know enough yet.
Yeah.
Also, and then Eric went to Paris for a week for work. So I was stuck running the office.
Well, I mean, I will say that it was very nerve-wracking, and we, for better or worse, I think that at least I tried to just keep a sense of normality and keep like calls and work, just because otherwise I was going to go crazy with just like thinking about it. So I think like one of the mistakes that we did is like, and we had like a new business call that week that we should have canceled. And of course we didn't get the job because their feedback to us was like, oh yeah, you seem distracted. I'm like, you think we were distracted?
There's a fire outside the window that we're also watching while we're on this call.
Like,
I mean,
I was on my hotspot. I was like making it work. It's so great.
Yeah. It was wild. I mean, we had go bags packed in our hallway. My daughter didn't have school for 3 days. My husband was on an international flight coming back. It was like, you're right. This pitch meeting didn't go well, but let me just tell you why. And hey, Karen, you know what we did? We asked for feedback on a client that we did not get.
I'm so proud.
And now we know next time Ellie decides to burn down, we should cancel all new business calls.
Yeah, we can still talk to our clients, but we're not talking to potential new clients.
Yeah. Well, even we had this podcast originally scheduled to record that
Oh yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
And then Amanda's like, should we cancel? I'm like, if the people recording want to do it, I can do it. Now, granted, I had 8 humans, 3 dogs, and a cat in my 2-bedroom apartment. So
Yeah.
I was like, there's no place to sit. Like, I'll maybe record this in the shower at this point, but we'll figure it out. But everyone ended up canceling because they are smarter than I am in being like, no, this is probably not a good time to be promoting ourselves. But it's been really bizarre. And things you don't think about happening, like the reason we had so many people at my house was because my brother's friends had to evacuate with their dog, and they kept stopping at hotels. It was like the nativity story. Every hotel they stopped at was full or said no dogs. And finally they're like, can you fit us? And I was like, I think we can fit a second air mattress in the living room. So who wants a camp out?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been on Instagram. I have 2 gas beds and water and electricity because a lot of people didn't have power for many days. Like Eric,
Yeah.
Eric
I
was
mean,
trying to work.
I was glamping for like 3 days and then going to Marissa's house for dinner and to recharge everything.
Yeah.
I was like, here are all my 58 power packs. Like, let me
And the
charge them up.
dogs. It was wild. But again, like we just kept saying like we're healthy, we're safe, this is what's important. And there is a movement here in LA for the interior designer community to come together. There are a couple big organizations that we're working with, but again, I think it's just like too soon, but we're all doing what we can.
Yeah. It's been really interesting because you guys participate in a lot of events. Your clients go to a lot of events. And that's been the biggest thing that my other LA-based clients and I have been talking about is how do we pivot events in the LA area? I was on a call with another client the other day who's a producer. And she's like, please put the word out. We need productions in LA. If you want to help LA, bring your work here. Because there are all these people whose jobs are being canceled and stopped and pulled and sent to New York instead. And all these people need work more than they ever have before because many of them are rebuilding from scratch. So they're like, just please hire us. Like, we don't need any more clothes. We just need jobs.
Great. Well, that's the same with the Freeze Art Fair is happening in a few weeks.
Yep.
And there was a big question, like, can this still go on? How does it make sense to give hotel rooms to people coming in? But the fairs were like, look, the galleries in LA need this to go on. The artists in LA working in LA, a lot of them live in Altadena and lost their homes and in their studios. Like they need these galleries to sell their work during this fair. So it's going on. And that is the message that we're hearing. At first I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're going to do this. And I was like, oh wait, no, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to come together and support everyone.
And I think there's also something about those of us who can proceed as much as normal as possible need to kind of give the balance back to everyone else who really can't. Because if all of us are running around with our heads cut off, it adds to the level of panic and despair feeling. But if more of us can settle back into whatever grooves we can go back to, I think it's giving some balance and hope and reminder that things will go back to how, as best they can, were. Like it'll never be the exact same. But having that normalcy and being an example of it, I think helps too. It was very cool in New York to see how many organizations the weekend I was there were having LA fundraisers and different groups, like the, film and TV group was doing one, fashion was doing a different one. It was nice to see that even it felt like COVID, but we were by ourselves. And it's nice to see that other people were feeling it too.
Yeah. I mean, Eric was in Paris the week after for a work event and they kept asking him, what can we do? What can we do?
Every time someone either remembered that I was in LA or heard that I was in LA, immediately it was like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. But no, again, it's really all our clients also reached out to us. They were texting us, just checking in. So it honestly felt very, it's not the right word, but it felt really nice to just get to see that people were actually worried. This is ridiculous, but even what my my sales associate at Alexander McQueen in Rome was like texting me like, "Are you okay?" Like, "Yeah, we're fine." Like, "Thank you."
We are fine, and we would love you to send a few
Yes.
things.
I need a new wardrobe.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But it was that human factor, I think, is what
Mhm.
was what you're trying to say. It's like people were checking on us and not like
Mhm.
the work. I mean, we did have one client who kind of go off the rails a bit, and Eric was like been sending emails to all of our clients. Just so you know, we are safe in LA. However, some of the stories might be pivoting the next few months as we deal with the aftermath and the
Mhm.
ash that's coming down guy right now. And it like shut everybody up because everybody has like one or two
Yeah.
clients who just don't get it, or maybe they didn't turn the news on for 4 days, unclear. But we
Mhm.
definitely had to like we also had to push back a little and say like this beautiful story that we're going to have featured of your home is not going to run, and they understood obviously, but
Mhm.
you get in your groove or you're not here
Yeah.
dealing with the friends of friends who've lost everything, or the next door neighbor who's
Mhm.
probably a family. Like it's so much in our face, and if you're not here,
Yeah.
I don't think you realize how it impacts every single person who we know in this community.
Well, and one of my clients, their home was saved, and they can't go back to it yet because of all the smoke damage and the ash, and they have to have their entire like AC cleaned out, plus probably their wall. Like they have to do full abatement on their house. And that's, I think, and also an awkward position to be in. We're like, yeah, no, I didn't lose my home, and I don't have a place to live
Right.
Yeah.
because there's this middle zone. And, you know, I think people are feeling guilty that, oh, well, I didn't lose everything. I'm like, yeah, but any other tragedy, you would be at the top of the list of like what like you're having to deal with. And I think, we're now have trauma from the watch duty alert. Like you hear that and you go, and I'm like, stop telling me we can go back home. Like give it a different sound.
Oh, I chose not
He
to install
disabled
it.
his.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I disabled it. I was like, I do not need this kind of stress in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's got me to remind him. It's fine. We're close enough.
Yeah. You're just sending him the text, you are the watch duty.
Yeah, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like, Eric, do you know that there's a fire right for your parents' hometown? He's like, is there?
No, I had no idea. They're fine. Yeah, they're it was
Fine.
near San Diego. My sister was she had like her grab bag ready to
Mm-hmm.
go, but then it rained. So like great.
The border fire, that
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Well, now that you have the app, you see how many fires are happening all the time. And I'm like,
I don't need to know.
yeah.
Blissful ignorance. That's my motto for 2025.
We've had a lot of conversations as well about how PR is changing. It's being redefined. It's expanding. It's going deeper with clients. For people who, when they think of PR, they think of getting placed in print media. What is PR in 2025, and how integral is it to for a brand to have a PR strategy?
I'm gonna let you take this, Eric, because you
Sure.
literally just answered this question
It
an hour
it is
ago.
it's very, very, I think it's very important. Like even if a brand or a firm isn't really working with a publicist, I think that just making sure that the PR component is part of the overall marketing conversation is
Mm-hmm.
is key, because otherwise, if you don't plan it, if you're not really strategic about what your marketing plan is and to communicate it, like, at the end of the day, then you could have the greatest marketing plan, but if nobody hears about it, what good is it? I think PR in 2025 is, I mean, again, Marissa and I have been doing this for longer than we want to acknowledge. So we've seen it everything, like from the boom, and when there were 58,000 magazines, there was a magazine for everything, and they had budgets to shoot projects, and then and all that, to the recession where no one was spending any money on home, to the pandemic and the post boom pandemic for the home industry, to now in this like limbo kind of
Mm-hmm.
bar, where there's 6 magazines left in our industry. So I think that PR now is more of it's a combination. It's definitely much more integrated with marketing. Like we
Yeah.
find ourselves doing more marketing initiatives that we were 5 years ago, just because like the conversation, the PR conversation has migrated to that element. So it's not just the print media, but it is a lot of what we do is developing the relationships for our clients with press, with designers, with other architects, with other like with influencers, like a lot of social media. So it really is I like to say like anything that has to do with any sort of communication. If you're saying something about your brand, that's PR. It doesn't matter what the medium is. I think it's just like a matter of having all your ducks in a row.
Mm-hmm. I've been having a battle with some clients lately who are very visually driven. And I'm like, everything looks real pretty, but I think we're forgetting the messaging part. Like, this is just another pretty thing that I'm not attached to. I don't know why. I don't know who you are. Um, you also work in a very visual industry. How are you kind of getting your clients to understand that the words and the messaging matter as much or sometimes more than the pretty picture?
I'm like,
I'm
And
just like letting you take this one. Um,
sorry, I think it depends on the brand, though. I think,
Mhm,
like I said before, we're not going to work with those Instagram brands, as
mhm,
wonderful as they are to certain people. I think that you can't really tell your story, or it might disappear in 2 years if you don't have everything else that goes along with it. You need a
mhm,
physical presence. You need to be showing your product in person somewhere, either if it's partnering with another showroom or going to a trade show or working with an interior designer to spec out a house. Like there has to be a physical presence as well as a virtual presence. So I think that the messaging has to align the same as it would in person as it does visually on your phone or on your computer. Because again, we work with high-end luxury brands that we're marketing to interior designers and architects who are such visual people. And they may not be able to get out of the office and touch and feel everything, even though they're encouraged to. Everything is behind a desk. So they need to see all the information at their fingertips, regardless of what it is.
and
mhm,
I think if anything, it's like words are just as important as the visual, because
mhm,
again, like you could have the most beautiful written story, but if your photos are crap,
mhm.
then nobody's going to be interested in it. Because like, why would
Yep.
I? Like, yeah, this sounds great, but I look at it and it's making me cringe. So I think
Mhm,
it is like one of the advices that we always give our clients is like one, you need beautiful photos of your project that are print ready or editorial ready, but then we also need to know the story. Like we need to know
mhm,
um why you decided to do this thing in your house in the house. Like the why is just as important as looking at it.
Mhm.
mhm. I'm going to pivot topics a little bit. So, you're, of course, on the Powerful Ladies podcast. What does power mean to you guys?
Eric,
I will take that. I mean, I think that it's my idea of power has really changed throughout my long existence. I think that right now for me, power is like respect.
Hmm.
Just like being respected for not, I mean, respected in like in the sense that I'm an authority, like I know what I'm talking about, and I think that it's after after all these years, it's finally kind of clicking. Like the
Yeah.
imposter syndrome is kind of like finally
Hmm.
leaving it. I'm leaving, trying to leave it behind. So for me, it's that. It's just like I know that my clients really respect my opinion and they respect what we our advice to them. So to me, that is empowering.
Hmm.
and knowledge. I mean, honestly, knowing what the media landscape looks like right now, knowing what's going on with our clients on a professional level, but sometimes also on a personal level. Everyone gets frustrated if you don't hear back from someone right away. It's like, oh wait, maybe something's going on with them. Let's like take a beat and understand where this is all coming from. And I think having that empathy is another quality that we really think is powerful and something that
Hmm.
we could be used more in our day-to-day news intake if only other people had empathy. But I do think that respect, empathy, kindness, I think those are all really powerful things
Hmm.
that we all need and exhibit ourselves.
Well, and the hot topic, especially this week, has been about DEI, and your entire team is DEI approved.
Yeah.
So, how it's just bananas to me that the people who are talking about DEI technically fall into DEI qualifications. Like they've forgotten that like ageism is also part of DEI. But like when you see those shifts happening culturally or from the government perspective, and you know how important the diversity and inclusion and equity in your own team is, like what's going through your mind? Are you just like so proud that you were already there and you're going to stay there? Are you losing your mind? Are you nervous?
I think everything that you just said. I think we're nervous for our country and,
Mm-hmm.
the younger generations who are coming up and kids in schools, like what are they learning right now? Are they learning the real thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, our team is very diverse. I joke that I'm the least diverse, but I am a powerful woman, but I
Yeah.
am white as can be. But everyone else is in general on our team are very diverse and we
Mm-hmm.
value their opinions and we like to hear their stories. And it's interesting because when we tell a new brand, for example, that we're going to work with them, we say three things that the media are looking for. Is, if you say you have a new product collaboration with someone or a new collection, they're looking to see if it's sustainable. Typically, is it made in America or where is it made and why? And number
Mm-hmm.
three is diversity. So we need to be spotlighting more diverse people in our industry. And that's a no-brainer. We have this conversation every single time we talk to a current client or a past client or a new client. Like, okay, well, what are these three pillars that we need to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you on this? And sometimes, Kara, we like to walk away from new business and we're not afraid of it because I speak for Eric and I both passionately, like we have to believe in the client and what they're doing in order to really excel at promoting it, teaching it. And if we don't, then I can't fake it. We're too
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Yes, you are. Um, for those who might be feeling all the things right now, and especially those who have a business that are like, what is going on? How do I keep going, where I thought I would be going? How do I stay true to what I know I'm supposed to be doing in all this turmoil? What advice would you give those new business owners?
I mean, what Eric said when our current president got reelected, we've been here before and we know it can be bad, but we will sustain our business and we will be okay. So
Mm-hmm.
just hang tight. Of course, the last 10 days have been real shocking, and I'm not going to discount that at all for many, many different organizations and reasons. But I feel like some of it is it's just so chaotic right now because they're trying to like pass other things that maybe we won't see and just like hang on
Mm-hmm.
and do your homework and call your senators.
Yeah.
And even like from a business perspective, like there's a lot of things that we can't control. Like the reality, like I had back when I was selling Mexican meat to Japanese clients, like one of my very wise Japanese clients, we were having an issue and I called him like in panic because like I couldn't fix it. And again, like very sensei Ken-san, said like, Eric, like I know that you're doing everything that you can. So
Mm-hmm.
if there was something else that you can do, you would be doing it. So I
Mm-hmm.
trust that. So that always stuck with me. I was like, there's things that I can't control. So I'm not why am I going to stress about those things? Like
Mm-hmm.
I did my part, I voted, I got involved. It's not the result that I wanted, but like at the end of the day, we will get past this.
Mm-hmm.
We always do.
We always do. And I was talking to somebody, they were like asking, like, oh, like, is Powerful Ladies becoming political? I'm like, kind of like the words you were listing before of like empathy and compassion and, taking care of each other. I'm like, we haven't changed where we were going. I'm like, the world around us has moved the goalposts. Like, that's all. Like, we've been pretty consistent and there's nothing radical about what we're talking about. If you think it is, maybe
Yeah,
that needs to be the conversation.
yeah. If you think that being nice and being being
Hmm.
empathetic is wrong, then
And
Yeah.
respected.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I think, as we're balancing, highlighting some of the things that are happening, because we have to, as a Powerful Ladies brand, I'm also like, guys, like, we really got to figure out this balance because the whole purpose of this company and the podcast is to keep showing people who are doing the work. And that's also part of why I was excited to have you guys on, because you're showing what collaboration looks like, just the two of you together. You're showing what it looks like to lead a team that is, getting 10 gold stars for DEI representation. And it's like, you're doing the work, you're being nice, you're helping people out. Like, you're walking the walk. And I think the more we highlight people who are walking the walk and realize that's what most of us are doing. Most of us are walking the walk. I'm not participating in that reality over there. I'm like, that's not the world I live in. I live in a world where people most of the time are taking care of each other if you actually look and ask. And so it's been really interesting to see what we're being asked and questioned and challenged. And of course, you can never be doing the right thing sometimes for someone who feels unseen and unheard. And it's like, okay, we're creating space for it and then redirecting over here. I'm like, okay, if that's what you care about, here's 3 episodes that talk about that thing. Thank you.
Okay.
But I think I just want everyone listening in our community here, just take a deep breath. To your point, we've been here before. We are so resilient. Every person who is nervous right now, we have gotten here from generations of people who were also nervous before us.
And that's the thing. One of my favorite shows is CBS Sunday Morning, and they frequently
I love that one.
Yeah, then they frequently do these. It's not a comparison, but it's like, oh, you think it's bad right now? Well, in 1768, this was happening, and it was much worse. And look where we are now. So I think that that is going to help put things into perspective. It's like, it may seem crazy, but but it's not the first time that something like this has happened. So
yeah.
So that kind of gets like, okay, we're fine. We'll be fine.
I mean, and unfortunately, I had this whole great tactic to bury my head in the sand for the first week. And then I started getting text messages from, people who are on Medicaid and my family who need these services, like many people, like millions of people in this country. I was like, all right, let me just take a pause. By tomorrow, it'll be up and running, but I hear you loud and clear, and I'm going to validate this crazy, this time in your life right now, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And we will figure it out if it actually goes off the rails, because that's what we do,
We do. We figure it out.
Figure it out. So but it is a scary time, but I do think, again, we've been here before. We'll get through it as long as we show compassion, kindness, and respect.
Yeah. Well, a few rapid fire questions to wrap up for today. The first is, where do you put yourselves on the powerful lady scale? If 0 is average everyday human and 10 is the most powerful person you can imagine, where would you score yourself today or on an average day?
I would say that the last few weeks have been exceptionally challenging, but I've still managed to lead with grace. I think, Erik, I mean, I might have had a real bad day one day last week, but in general, so maybe a 5. Is that okay? Is that a good score, Kara?
You are allowed to rate yourself wherever you want. Whatever you say is the truth.
I'm going to say a 7.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're doing better than a 5, Marisa.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have.
See, this is why we balance each other, because he's always check me.
I think too highly of ourselves. No, I think that, we have a team that really respects us, that likes to be working with us. I think that we have clients that same thing, that they really trust us. That some of our clients have been with us for years, almost since the beginning of Hello. So I think that to me, it's just, and again, it just goes to that respect and to that power that we've been able to have.
Mm-hmm. What is something that you wish people knew?
I wish people understood that we are bicoastal. Like Erik and I are in Los Angeles, but we have 2 very capable directors living and working in New York, and they are, hungry to go out and network and be with colleagues and press and clients. And I think that, because we're just a digital world, some people don't even realize that we're in LA, but I do think it's good to just highlight the fact that we are bicoastal. And we love to travel. I mean, Erik and I love to get on an airplane and go, abroad.
No, I mean, I think I'm going to go a little bit more broader, and I think that I wish that people knew that we're not that different.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the reality, that we all have the same problems, we all have the same enjoyments. So I think if once everyone realizes that, then things hopefully would be a lot better in general for everyone.
I agree. What is something that we can help you with? This is a big, powerful, connected community. So what is on your to-do list to manifest? It could be ridiculous or absurd or really simple. What would you like to ask for?
Can we get more time in the day?
You know what? We were joking yesterday because we were practicing some of the questions. We were hoping for you to just like move into the office and just be there all day and tell us what to do.
Wow,
Tell
this
us,
sounds
right?
exciting.
Just like, no, don't do that, or you guys should be doing this. Like that would be very helpful.
I love this. I have a client who we've moved them into like the embedded tier, where I meet with them and their COO. Basically, we have individual one-on-one calls once a month, but then I go into the office for 2 hours once a month, and it just becomes like full team training, working on stuff, and it's really fun. It's also really inspiring to see the new managers and like their brain popping and sizzling and be like, oh my gosh, now I can do this. And, there's a lot of spreadsheets we've been doing recently and looking at numbers and projections. And it's so cute to see them come back and be like, do you want to see my spreadsheet? I'm like, yes, I definitely want to see your spreadsheet.
I mean, my spreadsheet, I think of that I got 75% done.
Yeah.
But it's still a work of progress. Whenever I can escape like half an hour, I'll go in and like plug in some numbers.
Yeah.
And I still don't understand it, but that's okay.
You just need to be able to, as long as you can read it, you don't even know how to do it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it has been such a pleasure to get to hang out with you guys and for you to be guests and to be a guest to me and the Powerful Ladies podcast. For everybody who wants to work with you, support you, connect with you, how and where can they do that?
Yeah, I send us an email, hello@helloprgroup.com, the easiest way. And it's been our pleasure really to hang out for the last hour. And Marisa seems less nervous now that it's over.
Yeah. All of a sudden I was like, oh wait, I love talking to Karen. This is the highlight of my Friday for a year.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much. And keep doing amazing work that's inspiring us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with a friend. Head to thepowerfulladies.com where you can find all the links to connect with Marisa, Erik, and Hello PR Group, as well as learn more about Powerful Ladies. Come hang out with us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies. You can find me and all my socials at karaduffy.com. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.